difference. If you put in garbage, you get out garbage. You put in part-time effort, you get out part-time results. You put in full-time effort, you get full-time results.
Hey gang, the Headley Group Real Estate Show is a video audio podcast designed to highlight and interview real estate professionals, entrepreneurs, and other fields alike. The mission of our podcast is to acknowledge people of color and show their successes, and in return, help our audience learn from them and pick up tips and tricks in building additional income. Hey, ladies and gents, this is Mike Headley. We are back. Another great episode of the Headley Group Real Estate Show. I can't say too much enough about this young lady here. And actually, she's in my market and we had a deal together, right? Well, one thing I like to do is I like to highlight us. That was the whole objective of the show. People we work with, indirectly or directly. She's been licensed, I think, 1.5 to 2 years now. And what I say, she's done some great work. Again, she's in the backyard and I've seen her properties under contract, land deals, investment deals, single family. She's doing some great things in the market. Let's give a warm welcome to Albany P. Jones. And I've been messing the company name up. What's the name of the company?
It's AlmaJAnnie.
AlmaJAnnie. Let's give a round of
AlmaJAnnie Realty.
AlmaJAnnie Realty. Round of applause. So, Albany, thank you for coming to the show.
No, thank you for having me here. Well, you're awesome.
Well, the first thing I want to really highlight is that the small time she's been in real estate, she's done some wonderful things. I mean, she's working with all kinds of clients. And what I've really read about her is that she focuses on the client. Ain't all about the sales, about the client. And hopefully a lot of agents will see that and understand that's the core of the business, taking care of the client. Albany, you've been in the game, year and a half, 2 years. We all go through ups and downs with our real estate business. What was that first deal like? A rocky one, that first rocky deal. I want you to walk us through it so hopefully somebody can pick up some insight from that.
Okay, so basically, from the outside looking in, I was super nervous about getting into real estate. One, because I was afraid I wasn't going to sell anything. Two, I was used to having that safety net. Like at my other job, I got paid every Friday. It was a no-brainer. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So it was in a somewhat rural area of Reedsville, North Carolina, which is where I kind of grew up a little bit.
Okay.
And what ended up happening was the buyer wanted to terminate. And ultimately, they didn't have any real reason why. I guess you could say some of the family members kind of influenced their decision to back out of the deal because they had purchased a home in the past and there was something new called due diligence. So they didn't understand why they had to pay that. They felt like I was just trying to, tell them about it, I guess, to get over on them or something. And ultimately they decided to back out. So I was like, why? Like, we didn't have a home inspection. We didn't have anything completed, but they wanted to back out. And they did. And I was just heartbroken because I had, worked really hard with just driving all the way over there. And like, that's another thing. We drive a lot, like a lot. So I was just kind of heartbroken and sad about it. But ultimately, it's someone's investment. It's for some the biggest purchase they'll ever make in their life. So you just have to be understanding of that and be extremely patient. It's not like buying a bag of chips or like something super common. So for some people, especially first-time buyers, and what I learned from that is that you have to take the time on the front end to talk to those first-time home buyers. You have to. You just have to prepare them for what to expect and what's about to occur. Because once you start that journey and get into that process, it's a wild journey. It's not something that's easy. I talk to my clients a lot about the microwave mentality. This is not that.
Please share a little more specific. What do you mean by microwave?
So there's this book that I love, and it's called The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. And there's a little blurb. There's a little blurb in there about the microwave mentality and how people just expect things to just be super quick. Like when you go to the eye doctor and you get your glasses back that same day, Or we send text messages now when, generations before us actually had to write letters. They had to wait to see what someone said, like 2, 3, 4 days. And now we're just ready for something to happen now just because we want it. And at the end of the day, in this market, everybody wants it.
Right.
So what are you willing to do? So that's how I kind of came up with my boot camps that I host. I host them weekly, so that I can prepare people for this market and just educate them about being a first-time home buyer and about the market at that time. Because of course, there are ebbs and flows with the market, and you just have to keep people up to speed, let them know what to expect, and keep yourself sharp with what resources are out here, what's available for these buyers. And it's not just buyers, it just depends on the client in general, investors as well.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, because it was something you said I want to highlight.
No, you're fine. Lots of loan types that are specifically for investors, specifically for that type of client. So you have to keep yourself up to speed. I think that for me, it's like a hunger, because I didn't have another choice. I had gotten laid off from my job due to COVID. And although, my family has been in the business or whatever, they're not the type of family that's going to just hand something to you, if that makes sense. They're going to make you work. They're going to support you, if you genuinely need it, but that's just not the type of, upbringing that I had, where it was like, oh, here you go. That's just not it.
But the great thing about that, it made you to who you are today, like you mentioned a second ago.
Yeah, for sure.
You said due diligence. Now each state is different, and again, we get people from around the country who kind of watches us. What is due diligence, and what does that entail? So,
from my understanding, being that I haven't been licensed super long, from my understanding in North Carolina, it wasn't always a thing. But due diligence money is just a fee. It comes off of the purchase price, and it is given to the sellers, non-refundable, for you to be able to conduct your home inspection, for you to go in, for your appraiser to come out, all of those things that happen in the home buying process up to a certain date, which would be your due diligence date. It's just giving them some type of consideration for them to allow you access to the property. It shows them how serious you are about purchasing the property as well. So, I've had people put 20,000 due diligence and still not win the house. I've had people put no due diligence because we kind of structured the offer to be strong in other ways.
Correct.
So it really just depends on the client, the house, the market that you're in. But that's typically what that is.
Okay. Yeah. So what do you tell, again, you're a little seasoned, what do you tell a new agent getting into the business and they're working with 2 or 3 buyers? And again, we're in a multiple offer situation. They don't get the property. Offer 1, offer 2 on different houses, and they don't get the deal. Clients is frustrated, right? So now, when buyers are mad, they're mad at everybody. Frustrated, they start to look at their realtor like, do I have the best agent working for me? What do you tell an agent that they can pass on to their client that they can just keep going?
You need to keep them engaged. You need to let them know, I'm working for you. You're not working for anybody but that client. So don't put the cart before the horse. Don't get discouraged. Don't feel like, oh, it's something that I did. It's the market we're in. It'll be a client that I'll write 15, 20, 30, 40 offers for. We've driven hundreds of miles. I had a client I showed 40 houses to. Ended up purchasing a home with somebody else because she thought that I was just not doing my job. But in all seriousness, her terms just weren't competitive. So at the end of the day, don't get discouraged, because when you get discouraged, the client gets discouraged. So they're feeding off of you. So if you're like, hey, look, we'll get another one. Some people, they might get discouraged and decide to rent for another year. I've had that happen as well. Don't get discouraged. Keep following up with that client. Keep talking to them. Keep sending them houses. Stay connected with them. Ultimately, it's a rough time to be in real estate, especially with the state of the current market. There's a shortage of inventory. Some clients might opt to do new construction instead of, looking at existing homes, especially if they get discouraged. But it's all about your connection with them and your relationship with them. So build that relationship with them so that they can trust you and have the confidence to know that I'm going to find them something. Don't just be like, oh, we lost. Oh, well, I'm going to give up now. Go. I had a client, he lost out on a townhome in this one community, and I got up on a Saturday morning and I knocked on every door. Y'all want to sell? Here's a pre-approval. And somebody said, yeah. And so he ended up getting a home that way. It wasn't even listed on the market.
Wow, nice.
You can't just take no for an answer. You have to have that like grind and that hustle to be able to find them something. So that's something, like a couple of clients that I've had this year have gotten homes that way. You can't just be like, oh, we lost again. We lost. Like, what are you doing for the client? So that's your client. You work for them. Might not be working on the existing market. Find another way, whether that's you sending out mailers, knocking on doors, whatever. If they love that area, you might have to farm several neighborhoods in that area so that you can find something for that one client. Or maybe, somebody might call you and say, I'm interested in selling. Think about your clients, Some, people don't allow dual agency. So you might have to kind of have somebody else to represent them and do a referral fee or whatever you have to do. But just think about the client always.
Quick commercial break. If you're interested in a career in real estate or you're a seasoned vet and you might want to change, new environment, you don't like the atmosphere you're in, the Headley Group Realty could be there to assist you with your career. What do we offer? Great culture, great environment, leads, and an awesome commission structure. Let us be there to support your business. One thing, you got to be in the state of North Carolina. Let's get back to the show.
I like that. You said so many great points there. I want to peel back. People always talk about the highlights, but there's tough times us as real estate professionals. 40 houses, they went another route. If you care to share, did you question your performance, or was there learning moments in there which you said, okay, well, I could have done this better, or I could have done that better? Share that.
So I was a lot offended. I was highly offended.
It's natural. I think it's natural. I think we all take it just a little, but go ahead.
That for that client, I went above and beyond. Like I was doing 8 a.m. showings for her because she had to go to work at 9 and I didn't want her to miss out. Or I was driving around with her. If she said, I want a 4-bedroom, 2-bath townhome, I was showing her 3-bedroom, 2-bath ranches, like stuff that wasn't even in her criteria, just so she felt like I was working for her. I did a lot of research on the properties before even, going out. But that's the thing about the consumer, right? They don't know everything that we're doing.
Correct.
People don't value our time because they don't think about the fact that you had to get out of bed at 5:30 a.m. to drive to a showing or whatever. They don't see that. They just see the house and they think about their needs. And like, we do that too as a consumer. When we go to McDonald's and we order our kids meal, 4-piece, whatever, we don't think about the person who's putting the nuggets in the fryer and who's taking them out and who's, putting the ketchup in the bag and sealing the box and putting the toy. Like, we don't think about any of those things behind the scenes. And I think I'm used to that with my background in theater because I worked behind the scenes. So nobody saw what was going on back there. They just see the show. And that's another thing. Like, the consumer is not thinking about the lender that stayed up until 10 o'clock that night working on their file, or the realtor that's driving hundreds of miles, or unlocking doors, running comps and whatever else. They're not thinking about the attorney that's doing title work for them. They're not thinking about that because they're not educated. They're not in our industry. Exactly. So you can't just, be offended that, oh, I worked so hard for them. They don't really see that,
Correct.
So sometimes, and other times, it may just be a personality thing. Like, you're not for everybody. And if that's the case where you have that client that's like, oh my goodness, like we're just really not connecting, refer them out. Don't just do yourself a favor and just refer them out, because they might be a better fit with somebody else.
Actually, I did a segment with somebody else I had on the show. There's nothing wrong with firing a client, right? It's like they get rid of us. Sometimes, like I said, the match is not there. So I agree with you 100% on that. If someone says, well, Albany, you know, you have so much going on, you take this client, and we really appreciate that. We do know that we have to have them refresher moments, that downtime, so we can come back and refresh and do a great job. Do you feel as though that at times where it could be too much in terms of you being pulled in different directions, and how do you juggle that, right? Far as quiet time for you, because you got to have time for you. So how do you juggle that?
Yeah, so for me right now, I was actually just like writing out everything I have to do for the week before I came on. And I was like, wow, like how am I gonna manage all this? You know what I mean? It always works out, but I structure my day to make it work for me. So if I have to wake up at 3 a.m. that day so that I can get 2 work days into one, that's just what I have to do. I don't really have a lot of quiet time. It seems like I'm always on the phone with someone or following up with people via email. I did go on like a mini vacation for Thanksgiving this past week. So I went to New Mexico and it was beautiful. But of course, our clients are always calling us.
I don't care.
And that's okay, you know, because I really pride myself on being there for them. My thought process is, you know, I'm younger. I wouldn't classify myself as like super, super young because I'm getting older, which is crazy. But I don't have a lot of distractions. So I had to cut out a lot and sacrifice a lot, like watching TV. Like I unplugged my TV. When I got my license, I unplugged my TV and I put a poster, like a whiteboard over the TV. So I was focused on that. Another thing from that book that I was telling you about, I have it right here actually. I kind of bookmarked it. It's about the inputs that you put into your life. So if you put junk in, you get junk out.
Exactly.
So really just grounding myself and just gravitating towards things that are positive, that gives me that satisfaction of knowing like, you know, I'm working super hard. I do take time to myself sometimes, but it may have to be like a late night, like, okay, just relax, you're okay.
Correct.
But ultimately, you have to fit that in. Like you have to rest and relax for sure.
So, and what made that led to my next question. What do you say to an agent just getting into the business? And like you said, you got laid off and you like, how am I gonna make this work? You got an agent who has a job and they're licensed and they want to get into the business. How do they can they be successful full-time and can they be successful part-time? What's your take on that?
So I have never been a part-time agent, so I can't really speak to that. But I feel like when you put in full-time effort, you get full-time results. So there may be somebody that's like, I mean, you're taking a risk, but there's no one better to bet on than you, because you know, if I want this bad enough, if I, you know, do these things, I will be successful versus relying on other people. Like, it's just, I don't know. I've never like had to juggle, I guess, a part-time job and, well, I guess I kind of am doing that now because I'm actually still consulting for the entertainment company that I used to work for Price is Right. They have me working on several of their shows. So I'm kind of doing that part-time, but I am able to do it on my own terms as an independent contractor. So ultimately you can make it work, But again, with the inputs, if you put in garbage, you get out garbage. You put in part-time effort, you get out part-time results. You put in full-time effort, you get full-time results. So ultimately it's doable. I definitely encourage you to just look at your lifestyle and look at because I mean, there's times where you don't sell a house, you know what I mean? Like, exactly. Are you gonna be okay? Like for me, I can live hard. Like I'm used to living on tour buses, like in hotels. Like I can live hard. If I have to make a tent in the woods,
correct.
That's just what we have to do.
Got you.
But if you have like kids and other people that are dependent on you, you definitely have to take those things into consideration. But betting on yourself is always going to be rewarding.
So you mentioned, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, no, you're fine.
No, you mentioned theater background, and you was doing stuff with The Price is Right currently as well. How much of all of that good stuff played a role into your real estate? I know you said you don't mind putting a tent in the woods if you had to, but how much of that played your role into your real estate now that made you successful?
A lot. Because I'm used to working 365 days out of the year. I'm up at 5 a.m. I'm, building the show or getting the local crew for that day set. I'm talking to the talent. I'm dealing with all of these different personality types. I've lived in Asia. I've had to communicate with people who didn't speak English. So picking up on those social cues and picking up on like how people interact with you really plays a role in my customer service, because I'm used to dealing with anyone from any different walk of life, and I'm able to leave that day knowing that I treated everybody with respect and that people respect me as well. I feel that respect is definitely earned. So just building that rapport with people is super important to me, and that work ethic. Like the show must go on. So I've done shows where I had my wisdom tooth pulled that morning, and that afternoon I was doing a show. I've done shows where I had a bucket tied around my neck and I was vomiting into the bucket while at work still, because there's nobody to cover for you. So you have to push on. So that drive and that like work ethic definitely played a huge role into my real estate career thus far, because it's by any means necessary. Like if my client wants something, we're getting it. So I definitely, also feel that it contributed to me thinking outside of the box, because there's always another way. So if we're building the show and then something happens where somebody spills black paint on everything and now it looks a mess, the show has to go on. So we need to come up with solutions to be able to make this work. So it definitely has contributed to like me using my creative side to A, help with my marketing, B, help me connect to my clients, make sure they're taken care of, and just make sure that I'm working as hard as possible for the client, because that's really who it's about.
Hey guys, thank you for watching our show. We're going to interrupt you real quickly. We are in the business of referrals. If you know someone looking to buy or sell, residential or commercial, here in the North Carolina area, refer us. We really appreciate that.
Oh, it's nice. See, you mentioned marketing, and I want to segue into that. Social media, we see you got a heavy presence on social media. What do you say to a veteran who feels as though, I'm not really into that? Oh, I feel I may not look good on camera, or that's for the younger people. How much of a role has social media played in your business that's making you successful?
Social media is awesome. So I was kind of hinting on the fact that my mom is my boss, right? So she has other agents. I didn't want them looking at me like, oh, you hand her things or you help her. So social media was my go-to. I wanted to specifically use social media because it's free, right? I don't do any sponsor ads, but I use social media a lot, and I just I also like to keep things for memories as well. So it's like, oh, I remember that. Or I'm like scrolling on my page and I'm like, oh, I remember that person. I'll check in on them and stuff like that. So it's almost like I was using it like a scrapbook. But also creating that consistency. Social media is not going to work if you're just like, oh, I'm going to post once a month. Like, we don't know what you sell. We don't know what you do. And you have to be consistent with it if you're going to use it as a marketing tool. I think now more than ever, especially with COVID, we're seeing a lot of people who are going on Zillow and they're going on Marketplace and they're going on Realtor.com and they're going on social media and they're looking at all these things, scrolling, swiping. I mean, people use it to find a spouse, for God's sake. Like, I met my boyfriend on Bumble, like swiping on him.
Got you. Okay.
It's so funny because people are now using these social media platforms and using their phones, computers to find things like homes, spouses, cars. Like you can go on what's that thing? Carvana, and they'll deliver it to your door. Like
that's right.
People are using technology now more than ever. So to tap into that and to use that free tool, why not? Like you're not losing anything. How long does it take to post? 3 seconds. If you have to sit down for one day out of the month and just make everything that you're going to post about, do that, but definitely be consistent with it. And I think for a lot of people, they lack that discipline. Where it's like, I'm going to post twice a day, every day, or I'm going to post 3 times a week. Just make a plan. It's definitely been really great for me and my business. Like I can speak directly to that. And the reason that I did it was because I wanted to, I wouldn't say prove to my mom, but I wanted to be like, look at me, Mom. Okay.
But she gonna watch this now. Got you.
I would be like, look what I did, Mom. Aren't you so proud of me? Because like ultimately, I just want her to be proud of me. So she was like, oh wow, that's cool. And I love just like talking with other agents. I went to this fireside chat and I was talking with other agents about like social media, and they also agreed that like it's a great tool for a new agent or a seasoned agent.
Exactly.
And if you are like a veteran agent, don't be afraid to like get those client testimonials. Reach back out to your clients. Like don't just leave them, because then you'll have them calling people that they see on social media to come back and list their home for sale because they haven't talked to you at all. So just check in on your people. Just take care of people. And
I like that. Now you said a mouthful that because you get so many agents that feel as though they could be intimidated how they look, but I think really people don't care about that, right? It's really the words come out of your mouth and how impactful that is, because you really I just think you'll say something on social media and you just may touch one person, and that could be your client, or you can inspire them, or all it takes is one, right? So I'm a big proponent of it.
I agree with that though, because like for video, I can't even believe I'm on here right now. One,
really?
Because
are you serious? Why you say that?
Yeah, I hate my voice. Like I'll record like 60 videos, and then I'll be like, oh my God, look at my eye, or look at my, like, listen to my voice, and I'm like scrolling through them and I'm like, I'm not gonna post any of these. So I definitely need to do better about video. It's a real thing, because like it's just weird. Like
I don't notice anything.
It's crazy because like I was gonna email you and be like, oh my God, can we move it, because I lost my luggage and I don't have any cosmetics, and I didn't do myself up like how
you're
I
fine.
Like,
you're great. You're fine.
Yeah, but like it's a real thing. People are like you're your worst critic, you know what I mean?
First one.
Like other people will be like, wow, you're so great, and you'll just be like, oh my gosh, like look at this, look at that. Just get out of that. Just do it.
You know, and I'm gonna touch on that. I think people some is afraid to be vulnerable, right? So, but I think there's so many more people that can relate to that versus the facade and whatever that looks like, you know.
Right.
Any particular real estate you prefer to buy? You like, whether it be investment property, single family, first time buyers, listings. Is there anything, or you just across the board?
Across the board. I love it all. I love everything. Like, I did my first couple of land deals this year. I loved that. Just like with doing the due diligence of like, oh, we have to get a perk test and a survey. I'm like, oh wow, like I'm learning so much. I'm getting more into like multifamily with one of my clients right now, helping somebody get some Airbnbs up and running. So it's just so awesome to just see people using real estate as a keystone to wealth, and just seeing their happiness. Like, that's really what it's about. Like, real estate is very lucrative, but that's not what it's about for me. Like, just seeing people at the closing table. I had a client, his mom came with them to closing, and she was crying because she was like, wow, he's the first person in our family to buy a house. And like, wow, I'm about to start crying. Like, I tried to hold it in, but yeah, like, I shed a couple of tears when I got in the car because I didn't want them to see me.
It's a great feeling though. It's one that you had a lot of contribution to that. If you've been in, you say been in business a year and a half, 2 years. If you had to look back and tell yourself the first 60 days being in the business, what would you say?
I would tell myself to buckle up, buttercup. No, I would tell myself that you should have done this sooner and that you don't have to be afraid. Because once you treat people the way that they deserve to be treated and your intentions are pure and genuine, good things are always going to happen to you, especially if you give back and you are just genuine. So I think for me, I was a little nervous at first, definitely with a couple of deals that were like falling apart. It happens. You have to just keep going, like you can find them something else. In the amount of time that you are upset about it falling out, you can find them something else to look at. And I would never sell somebody something that I wouldn't buy. So if I'm looking at something, even when we go to the showings, I'm turning on the water, I'm flushing the toilet, I'm turning on the shower, I'm checking, is the water getting hot? Like, what's going on? And I think that also helps a lot once we get to the inspection. Right. Like, I'm not a home inspector, I'm not saying that, but I'm crawling under the house. I want to see if there's a vapor barrier under there, because I don't want to find out about that at the home inspection. So just like making the client feel supported, and also just making them feel like I have their back no matter what. It really gives them ease. So I would say, like, in that first 60 days, I would just tell myself that everything's going to be okay. You should have done it sooner. And just continue to treat people with kindness, for sure.
Let me get your spin on, we definitely are in a high pressured seller's market, right? When I got into the business, it was a buyer's market. As we continue to go on, clearly ain't gonna be like this forever. What do you see in your time in real estate? I'm quite sure you get this answer. Well, when is the market gonna change? When will it correct? What are you telling clients, potential clients?
I tell them that the best time to buy a house was yesterday, because I feel that the interest rates are going to go up, and it's going to essentially create this like equilibrium between the pricing and the interest rate. So when the pricing comes down and the interest rates go up, you'll probably be paying around the same, just depending on like what type of house you're looking at in the area you're looking in. I don't know. I really don't know when it's going to change. I don't think anybody knows when it's going to change. Like,
exactly.
I feel like recently, though, I don't know if you feel this way about the market here. Have you felt like you've been seeing like houses sit a little bit longer, or some price reductions?
Correct. Well,
I've been seeing that. I don't know if it's just because it's like the season. And then in the spring, it's going to be like, woo, hot market again.
Correct. Well, I can tell you from my take is I am seeing versus 24, 48 hours. Now that property is a week now, right?
Yeah.
5 days. And offers are going 98%, right? Or 90%, not the full 100%, right? Not all houses, but I'm starting to see just that little bit, and that's indicators, little by little, right? Little indicators. So I definitely agree with you that rates possibly, the way inflation is going, that it may increase up just little by little, right? But we don't know that, right? So we don't know that, so we just got to be prepared for it.
Yeah. Like the other day I went to buy bacon. It was $8 for a pack of bacon. Like, what in the world?
What about gas? Right?
Yeah. And it seems like it just crept up like little by little.
Exactly.
And I'm like, why am I paying $8 for this bacon? So I feel that that's like a real thing for sure with inflation.
Exactly. And it's like, and I think us as brokers, we need to really pay attention to that, right? It's like, okay, well, how do I develop a strategy, which quite sure you will, so okay, now we're going to be shifting a little bit so I can be there for these, for the other side, Albany, you really enlightened us with some great information. We asked every guest for 2 golden nuggets. You gave us about 9 of them already, right? Two golden nuggets, whether it be a book, a scripture, a quote, anything that's inspirational to you.
For sure. So my mom always says this. She says, good, better, best, never let it rest till your good is better and your better is best.
Ooh,
so you always have to be striving to be better. You might think that you're the best thing ever, but you always have room to improve and to grow. And then the book, The Compound Effect by Darren Hardy. Definitely want you guys to check that out. It's really going to humble you in a sense. It's going to tell you about the things that you may be doing that are stunting your growth. And ultimately, that's what it's all about. You want to grow your business, but the best way to do that is to grow yourself. For sure.
I like that. Now, we have to highlight this. You said your boot camp. Go ahead and go with that. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so boot camp will commence in January.
Okay.
I host them every Monday from 7 to 8, specifically for first-time buyers. But coming next year, we'll start doing some for investors as well. So that'll be super cool. I would say out of the boot camps, a lot of the people in there have closed on homes this past year. So it's really good information. I really talk a lot about the process down to like due diligence, earnest money, strategy, how to prepare yourself to enter the market. That way, when you get into it, you're like, I'm ready. Like, no soldier goes to war without training for it or having the proper equipment or tools. So yeah, I love the boot camps. I love just talking with people, and it's kind of like a forum style, I guess you could say, where we play games in there. Like, it's not boring. It's not like a boring Zoom call or anything like that. It's very, very hands-on. So,
and this will be virtual, not a physical location.
Yeah, so I did them virtual this past year, but coming up next year, I'm thinking about doing them in person. Okay.
Yeah. And if you do this virtual, where can people find? Where can they go?
So I have a link on my page.
And we'll have that.
Yeah, it's through Calendly. So you can go in, type in your information, and then it'll register you. Usually it lasts for about an hour, unless people have a lot of questions, and then you could log out if you want.
Let me tell you something, you all. I want to highlight this sister. Like I said, she really gave us some great information. Continue to support. And we want to thank you all for being on the Headley Group Real Estate Show. Thank you to Albany P. Jones for the name of the real estate company.
AlmaJAnnie Realty.
Yeah, because I'd have messed the name up, right? We'll see you all next time on the Headley Group Real Estate Show.
Hey, gang, I hope you really enjoyed that show. Our guests provide us some great tips and insight, and please support them on all social media platforms. And while I'm saying that, support us on all social media platforms. And don't forget, watch the entire video on YouTube. We'll see you next time.